Hi boys and girls, welcome back. My name is Miss Elia. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about some topics for measurement. And some of the topics we have already discussed. For example, we talked about length. And length, remember, is how long something is. So for example, a ruler can help us to see how long something is, so we can measure how long. The second thing we can talk about is also called height. We've also talked about height. When we measure something, an object, it has to be from the very bottom. So when I hold my ruler, if you'll notice, I would look from the very bottom to the very top part of whatever it is that I'm going to measure for height. Same with you. When you would measure yourself, your height, to see how tall you are, you have to stand up really straight. And then that's how you would measure from your feet all the way to the top of your head. So that's the second topic. But also, we will be talking about weight. And weight is actually when you measure how heavy or how light something is. So think about those two words as well when we talk about weight. So if I say something is heavy, that means it has a lot of weight. That means that it's really heavy. Or if I say it's very light, it means that it's not too heavy, so it doesn't have too much weight. Okay, so here we go. Let's look at our first example. Our first example is this pink box. This pink box, if you'll notice, we're gonna start by identifying the height. So if I look at the height for this pink box, it's going to be a blue line. And if you'll notice the height, it goes from the very bottom to the very top of the box. And that shows me how tall that height is, okay? Next, let's look at the length of this box. If you'll notice the length of this box, it's actually an orange line. And the orange line goes across the box. So I want you to focus, length goes across. Now look at both of these items together, the height and the length. Now you guys see it in this third image. This box has height and it also has length. So the length is the bottom and the blue is the height. Good job. Let's look at the next example. Okay, here we have a tape dispenser. Notice a tape dispenser. The height, once again, we're looking at it in blue. And think about, does this height, does it look short to you or does it look tall? Well, if it's a tape dispenser, it probably has a short height, not too tall. What about the length? Look at the length now. It doesn't look too long. So the bottom line is showing us how long this tape dispenser is. Now remember, we also talked about another way to describe measurement. We talked about weight. Do you think that this tape dispenser is heavy or do you think it's light? What do you guys think? Well, this tape dispenser is not too heavy. It's very light. I could actually hold it in one hand if I wanted to. Okay, good job. Let's look at the next example. In this example, you'll see a little speaker. It's like an emoji. Now, look at the height for this speaker. It's actually not too tall. The blue line is showing us how tall it is. So it's not very tall. It's kind of short, okay? And look at the length. The length goes across. Remember that, it goes across. The orange line is showing us the length, how long it is. And once again, it's not very long. It's kind of short. Okay, so the length and the height. But remember, we also want to talk about the weight. This speaker, you could hold it in your hand. If you could hold it in your hand, it's very light actually. It's a tiny speaker. It's not very heavy. So for this one, we'll say it's a very light weight object. Okay? Now let's look at the next example. Next example is a glue bottle. A glue bottle, you guys have seen what it looks like. Glue bottle, we know the height is not very tall, and we also know that the length, if you'll notice the length, is not very long either. So it's kind of short and it's not very wide, meaning it's not very long. It's not too long. What about the weight? How would we describe the weight? Would we say it's heavy, or do you think it would be something light? Well, it's something light. This glue bottle, I could pick it up and it would be a very light object. Very good. Thank you. Good job describing all three measurements. And we also have one more example. I want you to look at this marker box. Look at the marker box. You have seen the marker box as well. Markers are not too tall, so think about the height. You could see the height up here. The height up here is showing us in the blue line. It's not too tall. And what about the length? The length is also not too long. And what do you think about the weight? If I wanted to describe the weight, would I describe the weight as something heavy? Do you think this object is heavy, or do you think this object is light? Well, it's actually a very light object. Now let's look at two examples and you identify what the height is and what the length is. Here's the first example. Look at the backpack. Is this backpack's height the line that goes across the long way? Or is the height the line that goes up and down from the very bottom to the top of the backpack? What do you think? If you guys said that the height is from the very bottom to the top, you are correct. Good job. Now let's look at the next example. Here's a juice box. Now, is the juice box length, is it the line that goes across, or is it the line that goes from the very bottom to the top? What do you guys think? If you said that the length is the line that goes across, good job. That is also correct. Find some things at home and see what kind of objects you find and see if you can identify the heights and the length and also how heavy or how light they are. Thank you guys for joining me. I will see you in the next video.